And it makes me so much freer to stop depending on other people, to be a certain way, to do certain things. And then in that respect, you can actually love them better. You can give better love to those people because you're giving better love to yourself. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Imperfect But Worth It. I'm your host, Brenna, and I'm really excited that you're joining me today. I very impulsively just was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go record a podcast because what just happened I think is important to share. I had a good journaling reflection on how I kind of worked through a trigger and how I started to implement some of the tools and mindset shifts that I've been learning about, and I really want to share it with you because I think for me, and I don't doubt that this is widely felt, such a big challenge is not understanding new information or understanding the reasons why or how to work through a trigger or a limiting belief, and how to put yourself in the right mindset. The difficult part is the action of actually feeling a trigger or feeling this pull towards operating in a past conditioned belief system or a past conditioned behavior cycle, and to break that, to do it in a meaningful way where you actually feel it in your body. Because talking about Joe Dispenza, I think a reason why he's becoming so popular is because he shares about how it's not just about thinking certain things. It's not just about visualizing your life or visualizing starting different behavior patterns that are much more, I don't want to say positive as in toxic positivity, but that are much more positive and conducive to supporting you in your life and tapping into your authentic self and not getting stuck in negative belief cycles, negative behavior patterns that do nothing but limit you and honestly cause you unnecessary suffering. Suffering is a part of life, but we want to mitigate the unnecessary suffering. And so he talks about how to do that in a way where you actually feel it. You feel that potential within you. You feel those positive emotions. You feel what it would feel like to be your future self, and actually in training your body how to feel a new potential or a new reality is what actually changes your life. And that's when things actually start to shift for you and you start to really see the material manifestation of your work. But there are obviously so many people out there that have advice, and although it can be very true and very fair, like a lot of ego work, I find like sometimes you want someone to hold your hand, or it really humanizes the whole experience by people talking about how they actually have messed up in the past, but how they continue to show up and do things differently, and how they work through a real life situation, no matter how small or silly it is. So that's my intention today. Sorry for my rant. That's my intention. I want to share with you how I worked through something this morning, and part of the inspiration is from the Mel Robbins podcast. I listened to a few of her podcasts yesterday, and two of them really struck me. One was her talking about her let them theory, and the other one was talking about not caring what other people think of you. Both are an extension of the same thing. So her let them theory is step 1, let them, and step 2, let me. And I'll explain. So her theory is basically on detaching yourself from what other people think or feel about you, and to find that power within yourself. So to not give your power away to worrying about all of these external factors that are just at the end of the day out of your control, and to find that center within yourself so that you are the main person that is controlling how you feel. You can't control what other people do, but you can control how it lands within you. And obviously, I'm now thinking, fuck, people have been saying this to me my whole life when you're in elementary school. People don't make you feel how you do. You're the one that lets that in. Or my mom would say that, but I don't know. Something feels so intangible about that sentence. It's hard to actually understand what that means for your life when you're in a situation and something's happening and you're like, but I'm feeling this way because of that thing. And so Mel Robbins' let them theory is about letting people be who they are, letting them do the things that they want to do. The trick is that you're not internalizing it, you're not taking it personally for it to land and make a narrative about yourself or make kind of reinforce a limiting belief that you have about yourself. You have that control. You're the one that gets to decide how other people's actions make you feel. And so it's like, let people be them and let me take care of myself. Let me be who I am. Let me show up in the world authentically, creatively, no matter what people think. Because at the end of the day, external forces you're never going to be able to control. And by actually letting go of control of all of these things that you can't control in the first place, so letting go of external factors, you actually gain more control and you gain more peace over your life. I wanted to just share this quick little story. So I did a really good inner child meditation today. I'm going to read off some of my journal entries as I share this. Something that I just started to do yesterday was I found a good inner child healing meditation on YouTube, because as I've talked about in some of my other podcasts, in my other podcast episodes, I have been much more insecure, or I have been more actively in an open wound this week, feeling very insecure, very unsure of myself, really feeling codependent on my partner to nurse my needs and also to give my day structure. I base what he's doing I base my own calibration of what I should be doing based on what he's doing. So if he's working really hard at editing a video, I immediately think to myself, well, what am I doing? And I need to also be maybe starting a podcast or doing this. And it feels so exhausting to hold myself to someone else's calibration stick that does nothing but make you feel disempowered, because nothing is actually coming from you. It's coming from somebody else and what you think you should be doing based on what they're doing. And there's no ownership in that, and I highly recommend not doing that or becoming aware of that so that you mitigate doing that. And so that was kind of where I was this week. And so I was very aware that I have this very deep inner child wound. Yeah, does that make sense? Yeah, I have this very deep wound of believing that I am not good enough, that I'm gonna fail, and that something is wrong with me, and that I am not enough. I'm not enough as I am. So I'm very self-critical, and even starting a podcast, even recording a few episodes and trying to make a thumbnail on Canva and trying to figure out the description for my podcast, I just keep thinking like, fuck, what am I doing? This is hard. I don't know. It's not going to be good. No one's going to listen to it. And I think that makes me paralyzed and less likely to take action. And it has to be the kind of thing of, Brenna, maybe you're not going to post this podcast in the next few days. Maybe you're going to be recording some episodes. You're going to be taking some time to learn about podcasting, to have some time to get into graphic design, but actually focus. Don't just do it half-assed for 30 minutes or start doing it for 10 minutes and then click a new tab open and start to do something else. I definitely think that my brain can get distracted if I don't rein it in. And so I was being really hard on myself with those kinds of things. But essentially that was what I was navigating. And so I chose to do an inner child healing meditation because I really feel as though one of the biggest challenges I have in my life right now, actually no, I know that the biggest challenge that I have in my life right now is this belief that I'm not good enough, that what I'm doing is not good enough. And it paralyzes me from doing anything, and it makes me more reliant on other people to soothe my emotions and to make me feel good about myself. I think having that awareness is really crucial, but it's obviously not as easy as making quesadillas, which is putting a taquito on a pan and some queso, and voila. And so this is a process that takes time. So you also have to have that patience with yourself. Doing this work is not easy. You're not going to feel 100% right away or even 100% confident in this new mentality shift. You're going to try and do an inner child meditation and really believe in the words, you're going to think of yourself as a young child and you're going to apologize to it and you're going to hug your young self, or think of moments in your life where you abandoned yourself or you were in a lot of pain, and you're going to be like, fuck, how was I so cruel to you back then, and how did I abandon you so badly, and I keep doing it to myself, and that's just not fair to me. I'm not a perfect human, but my imperfectness does not mean that I am worthless. And if I have this fear of failing, I think in my life, obviously failure is a part of life and we just need to expose ourselves to that. But whatever I've done in my life, it hasn't been the best thing in the world, but I don't really feel like I've ever truly failed, as in me as a human I'm not capable. Me as a human, I'm not capable of doing something. I don't feel that that narrative is true. Obviously, I haven't tried to be a NASA astronaut and go to space, and I don't know if I have what it takes to do the physics situation and all of that mathematical background. So in that sense, yeah, I know that I'm not good at that, but I don't want to do that, so it's fine. And I think that the process to really working on yourself and healing your inner child, or challenging these negative beliefs that you have about yourself, and also finding wholeness in yourself, it takes time. And so I wanted to share an example of my morning today where I challenged that limiting belief, and I feel like I've gained more clarity on how to really implement the let them theory into my life, and also to find more wholeness and peace and security within myself, that I'm not becoming overtly codependent on somebody else to soothe me, to fill up my cup, to make me feel good about myself, and all of these things. So this morning, I decided to do the same inner child meditation that I did yesterday, and it was good. I noticed my mind racing a little bit, kind of starting to jump from thought to thought, thinking about my partner, or thinking about my insecurities, maybe worrying a little bit, maybe thinking about my job, and then also trying to rein it in, being like, be present in the meditation. It's okay. You also don't have to stress yourself out thinking about this really important, because the meditation asks you to think of a specific time in your life where you know that you abandoned yourself. It was about when I was in grade 11, and I had quite a hard time making, oh God, I'm gonna have to go into all the details about this. No, I'm gonna save this for another time to really get into it. But basically, I had a challenging time throughout middle school and high school. So that means I was around maybe 12 up until 17, making friends. And it wasn't that making friends was the hard problem, it was about finding good friends. I really struggled in feeling safety in my friendships, and also I think as you start to get a little bit older, around 15, 16, you start to become more aware of boys. But I think for me, I had this deep need to be chosen or picked or wanted by boys, and it was almost an obsession. I wanted that validation from an external source to make me feel like I was worth something, and that I was lovable, and that I was wanted. And so I was thinking today how when I was in grade 11, so probably 16, I had friends at school, and just not the type of friends that you really click with. I always felt like I was faking who I was to be friends with them, because I just wanted to have friends, and I wanted to be kind of popular, or I wanted to get invites to parties so that I could feel important. And you do a lot of damage by forcing yourself into a mask that doesn't feel forcing yourself into a mask in general, period. It's a costume. It's not authentic. You're not being yourself. You have no backbone or support for who you are, and you kind of lose it. You don't even develop it. So you don't even know what to fall back on, because you don't have it. And so I was thinking about how that period of time in my high school where I was very preoccupied with boys and wanting to be liked and feeling really alone, and so I was doing work on that, and then I was thinking about that and trying to soothe myself. And this is a little trigger warning just for self-harm people, and I think when I'm going to do another episode where I go really in depth into my history or my life, but I had a history of self-harm when I was in high school and into university. And I was kind of thinking, because I had forgotten, honestly. I don't think about it very often. And I was like, wow, I did that to myself. I had those really low moments, and I was kind of feeling this deep, I'm sorry, Brenna, that I made you feel like you had to attack yourself and inflict pain on yourself when you were already hurting, as if you could possibly feel like it was okay to treat yourself in that way, to cause yourself pain, or to cause harm to your body in that way, by internalizing these external situations or events that triggered you and made you feel unworthy. But I was the one that kind of translated that information in that way. So I also did that to myself. So I was doing that meditation, and then my partner opened the door, I think to get something in the bedroom, but he kind of opened it quickly, which is fine. It's a creaky door, so I just really heard it. He came into the room, grabbed something, and he left. And my parents are also here right now, so when he opened the door, or when he left the door open, and my parents were outside sitting on the living room couch. And for me, meditation is something that I'm comfortable to do in front of my partner. I'm comfortable to do it in front of my parents, not sitting down in front of them, but telling them, hey, I'm going to meditate. I'm going to go to my room. But there was something that just felt more vulnerable for the door to be open and for me to just be in this space. Not a lot, but I just kind of noticed like, he left the door open. I'm annoyed that he didn't think to close it, that he wasn't thinking about me, that he is not maybe like respecting what I'm doing, or he's not caring about it. And also on top of that, sometimes when I'm meditating, he'll come up to me and he'll kiss me on the forehead, which is really sweet, but he didn't do that. And so I could sense my brain kind of going into this idea of, well, because I've been in a more fragile and insecure headspace this week, we have obviously been a little bit rocky in terms of really feeling our groove, because I've been more codependent on him, so we haven't really been celebrating our individuality together and experiencing that energy. And so when he didn't kiss me on my forehead, I kind of was like, well, this is a sign that something between us isn't right, that he doesn't care about me in this way, or he's not thinking, oh, like, this is my baby, I love her so much. And that makes me feel small, and it makes me feel like I don't matter, or that I'm not worth as much. So those were that happened in the span of maybe 5 seconds, but it was just boom, boom, boom. And it wasn't that I was quite identifying with those thoughts, but I was noticing those thoughts and those narratives coming up. And so I took that as an opportunity to notice what was going on and to say, okay, actually hold up. I'm going to put what I've been learning into practice. So what do I know now? That other people's actions and what they do doesn't dictate how I feel about myself. And so I asked myself, well, why am I feeling this reactivity towards him not closing the door and him not kissing me on the forehead? And it was because, well, I'm not feeling like I love myself right now. And I am wanting it from him and wanting him to show me through his actions, whether it's like closing the door gently or kissing me on the forehead, that he loves me, that I'm worthy, and that I'm lovable. So I noticed that and I said, okay, what can I do now that's different? I'm going to, in my head, kiss myself on the forehead and say, Brenna, don't worry about it. I love you. You're good. You have everything that you need right here, right now. You don't need it from Benito. And that was a really good start. And then also in my ability to not feel this open wound and not feel like a needy child reaching for its caregiver, being like, please give me attention, please give me attention, that I was able to see he didn't do the door thing personally. He's just a dude. He walked into my room to grab something and he just forgot to close it. Just because he wasn't like thinking about me doesn't mean that he doesn't care about me, or doesn't mean that he doesn't give a shit about me. Like, he's a human. And there are also so many times for me where I do something and I overlook him, and it's not because it's like, fuck you, I don't like you. It's not that. I'm just a human. I wasn't thinking about it. I was in my own headspace. I was doing my own thing. And so in me taking a step towards filling my cup up and not feeling reactive towards him by giving myself my own validation and my own security within myself, I was able to more calmly see the situation and feel very detached and non-reactive towards it. And it kind of reminded me about Eckhart Tolle, who says when you really are tapped into your own state of presence, you can really observe situations in a non-reactive way. And it could be in a situation that's way more confrontational than the stuff that I experienced this morning. And it sounds really silly to be sharing this story because I know that these things are very small, but I also just want to be very honest that I'm a human and these are the thoughts that I had this morning. And I don't hope that you have the same thoughts, but I hope that you can feel not alone if you catch yourself having these limiting beliefs over situations and actions that are so trivial or that are even larger than what I experienced this morning, but that you can still work through it in the same way. Because I know that there are going to be confrontational situations where maybe someone is directly telling you, I don't like you, or I don't want to be with you anymore. And that's a much more extreme example where you're really going to have to enact that barrier and that distancing of severing that tie that what other people do and what other people think has anything to do with your value or your worth. People are allowed to make their own decisions. They're allowed to choose what works and what doesn't work for them. That's totally fine, but it doesn't have to for a second impact your value as a person. Sure, maybe you did something and you could learn to do it better, but don't start attacking yourself, who you are, to the core and feeling like there's something wrong with you, because there is a difference and you have to catch that. Okay, and then the other thing that I wanted to say is I can know that my partner loves me and stay non-reactive to his actions. For if they do trigger my ego, they do trigger that hurt part of me, I can remind myself of my safety and security within myself, and I'm reminded of my wholeness. I can fulfill my own needs to be loved, and I can take care of myself. I think it's wonderful and beautiful that in relationships you can meet and be with people who you know wholeheartedly want to take care of you, but the difference is that you don't need that. So it's a beautiful thing to know that you are with somebody who has values that you align with, but you don't rely on them as a baseline for your survival. You provide that for yourself. So me sharing that, my thought process was, obviously I know that Benito has said to me, like, Brenna, you know that I've got you. I want to take care of you. You know that I'll always take care of you. I'm your person. You're my person. That's a really beautiful sentiment, and I can hold that very deeply in my heart and know with security that that's not going to change unless something drastic happens, unless I start to become a different person. But that will likely not happen. I'm just going to grow. And also, I know that my intention is the same for him. I feel the same way about him. The difference, though, is that I don't need him to take care of me. I want to be with somebody who wants to take care of his partner, who wants to be there for them, and who wants to support them along their journey. But you don't want to actually rely on that, because by relying on it, then you expect it. And expectations, like my dad said, are the frickin' Antichrist. So don't have expectations from other people. Have wholeness within yourself, and catch yourself when you're feeling triggered by an external situation to cut that cord right away. Just say to yourself, other people's actions don't have anything to do with, cut that cord, that other people's actions, what they say or what they don't do to you, somehow equal a reflection on how you should feel about yourself. No. Wrong. No. I really had to visualize cutting that cord. That what Benito says, what he doesn't say, what he does, what he doesn't say, that does not now automatically mean that I have to flip the switch and now feel lack within myself or make it personal to me. It's not personal. If I can hold this idea that I love myself, actually no. If I can hold the truth that I am love and I am whole, and I've got myself, and I will soothe myself in situations, and I will be my own best friend, and I will be kind to myself, then it makes me so much freer to stop depending on other people to be a certain way, to do certain things, and then in that respect, you can actually love them better. You can give better love to those people because you're giving better love to yourself. I wanted to share that little reflection today. I hope that it helped or can resonate with some of you in your life. Let me know in the comments, and I really appreciate you being here, and stay tuned for the next episode.